This is the Almost Timely newsletter for September 11th, 2022. What's on my mind this week? Let's talk about how to determine high-value topics. Let's say you're getting ready to write a book or put together a big presentation, maybe a conference talk or something. Lots of people have excellent guides about the process itself, developing the talk, of making your ideas more sticky, of how to become a better presenter or a better writer. My friend Tamsin Webster has a whole series called Find the Red Thread process for making your big idea better and easier to present and more resonant with your audience. But relatively few people tackle figuring out how to figure out what the topic should be in the first place, right? What is the idea that you can then improve on? So I thought I'd share a few different things that I do to figure out topics and ideas. Hopefully, they'll be helpful to you, especially if you've been asked to come up with a topic for a book or a conference talk. The first step is a bit of self-awareness. What are the topics and areas where you have actual expertise of some kind to share? You can't build with materials you don't have, so that part comes first. The best place to figure this out? Your inbox. What are the topics and discussions you're giving advice or perspective on all the time? What do people need your help with the most frequently at work? What do people stop by your desk with their coffee cup to ask about all the time? Those are fertile grounds for figuring out what your expertise is. A question that I use for myself a lot is, what question are you really tired of answering? Right? If you keep getting the same question over and over and over again, that's a sign that it's a big idea because it's something people really care about, even if you're like, oh my God, I've answered this 500 times already, right? So that's step one. Step two is to listen a lot. Go listen to conversations in hallways at conferences or around your office. Go listen to questions and answers from others on the topic, if there are any. Go to your customer service inbox. Go hang out on Reddit or Discord or Slack. Anywhere that people are having real conversations, and listen to the questions being asked and, critically, the answers that people are being given. When you do that, ask yourself, what questions do I have a better answer for than the answer I just heard? Here's one of my favorite secret questions that I ask myself, because I don't tell anyone about this because it can be offensive. When I'm listening, particularly to somebody else like on stage, what answers do I disagree with most? Maybe vigorously. Maybe you're like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot. That's totally the wrong answer, right? The more I have an emotional reaction to something, the more I know there's something there worth exploring, right? If I'm watching a talk maybe on Google Analytics, I'm just going, yep, yeah. I mean, I might not do it that way, but okay, that's cool. There's not a there. There's not enough fire and passion and emotion to write a book about with the answer. On the other hand, I'm like, oh my God, get off the stage. If I want to rush the stage, shove the person off. That's a sign that there's a there. There's something that's emotionally resonant to me that will power a book or a course or a conference talk, right? If you already do a lot of writing, creating your own content, check your analytics. What are the topics that have already captured the attention of your audience? What content gets traffic? Right? What content gets conversation? What posts on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever get people talking back to you? That's a good way to listen. If you don't have any of that, go look in your favorite SEO tool for the questions that people Google the most, right? Use that as a jumping off point. Google has, people also ask as part of their toolkit. Great way to listen. So that's step two, listening. Step three is extending your idea, because very often something that provokes an emotional reaction isn't enough by itself. You need to be able to extend that idea beyond just your initial response. And the secret to do that is called adjacency. It's one of the most powerful idea growing tools we have. It's based on your subject matter expertise. When someone's talking about problems they're having, or the question you have to ask is, do they really have those problems, or is there an underlying root problem? At lunch this week, A colleague asked why I thought companies had so many heterogeneous data problems. And I said, the problem's not the systems. The problem's the people using the systems. The systems and the data complexity is just a symptom of a much bigger problem. The bigger problem is like organizational silos and people protecting their little fiefdoms. And so if I was going to take that topic, I would not just talk about heterogeneous data. I would talk about governance. I would talk about silos and people being selfish with their data. And you can take that problem and magnify it and extend it out, right? With your topic, what's the next logical step, the next logical magnification of the problem? How big does the problem get if you don't address it? For example, 2 months ago, the EU essentially ruled that the use of Google Analytics 3 within the EU is just flat out illegal, right? And several nations, Austria, Denmark, Germany, France, all litigated cases against it and said, yeah, it's illegal. You should not be using it. Now, so what are the logical consequences of this? If that architecture, if Google Analytics and the fundamental technologies it's based on are illegal, what else is illegal? Does your SaaS-based marketing automation software, is that illegal? If it's got a piece of JavaScript that's sending data that has any PII outside of EU borders, it's illegal, right? So your talk or your book doesn't just start with Google Analytics. It talks about anything where data processing is happening outside of certain geographic boundaries. That's a much bigger idea, and it's going to capture people's attention more. By the way, we're still waiting to see if the EU agrees that Google Analytics 4 solves the problems found in Google Analytics 3 or not. If they rule that it is also not compliant, we're in for a real interesting time with analytics in the EU. So from there, you can go to expand the topic to compliant technologies, privacy-friendly analytics alternatives like marketing mix modeling. But the point is, adjacency is what helps you showcase your knowledge by being able to see the problem in a bigger context, extend the problem to show here's the big scope of it that you need to wrap your brain around. Step 4 in the process is to experiment with low-risk content. Before you sacrifice 18 months of your sanity writing a book or hundreds of hours building a course, write a newsletter article, put up a YouTube video, conduct a webinar, publish something on Medium, put out a short white paper. And if your idea in smaller form doesn't get any traction, no reactions, no comments, no nothing, you can be fairly certain the bigger idea is not going to make it better, right? Making a book out of an idea that nobody cares about is not going to be a good use of your time. My friend Jay Baer does talks on a topic that he's going to write a book about for a year. He just takes the idea on the road, collects Q&A, collects audience reactions, the things that resonate with people, the things that just bomb and get no reaction. And then he writes the book if there's enough interest, which is a great strategy for this sort of thing. Last week, I started promoting the paper on private social media communities, which there's still a link in this week's newsletter. I had initially set out to write a book about it back in November, but I wasn't sure if there was a there. I wasn't sure if it was worth it. So I made it a paper instead. And you downloaded it like crazy. Replied, commented, asked questions, said, I want to see a talk on this. So it looks like a book's on the horizon after all, because the small idea did really well. So we can help it graduate to the big idea. And of course, the fifth and final step is do it. Make the idea real. Write the book, deliver the talk, build the course, and then obviously use the continuing feedback to make version 2, version 3, version 4. So far I've done 3 versions of analytics for marketers with all the changes and all the conversations I've had in the last year or so. Version 4 is going to be on the docket because there's a whole bunch of stuff now that is pretty out of date. Like all the stuff with stable diffusion and image generation, man, we got a lot of ground to cover in what was cutting edge or imaginary 2 years ago is now like now it's in production. So let's go. So with any process, skipping straight to the end, writing the book first probably isn't the best idea. So take the process that I've outlined to identify a topic and then see how viable it is for a big project. Start small, grow it, get feedback on your ideas as you grow them, and then turn it into the big thing. It will save you so much time and so many headaches. I have written 12 or 13 books, I think now. 9 of them have failed. 9 of them sucked. Not that they were bad, but they were topics where there wasn't interest in the small idea. And I did it anyway and regretted it later. So now I take the approach of start with the small version of the idea, see what resonates, then turn it into the bigger idea. And I can say there's probably been at least 2, if not 3, book ideas that I put up trial balloons for, and nothing, crickets. And so, okay, cool. We're going to put that aside and move on to something else. All right, what else is happening this week in the news? Besides, of course, the GA4 course and the new private social media paper. Had an article this week on the impact of AI on SEO. A lot of people have strong opinions on this, but it's not as cut and dried as people are making it out to be. A lot of the discussion on saying, well, you should never use AI to generate content because Google will find it and so on and so forth. There's some more nuance to it than that. So check that out. And a bunch of other stuff. We did a great live stream this week on network graphs and stuff. So check that stuff out. For jobs this week, who's hiring and what are they hiring for? We have chief data scientist at Storm 5, CRO specialist at Better Collective, digital analytics specialist at I don't know how to pronounce Dietern. I don't know. Director of Data Strategy at Marriott, expert digital analytics at HSE, Google Analytics Specialist at Inflow, Head of Marketing at GT School, Marketing Manager at TIS Best Philanthropy, Risk Analyst at RMS, Senior Analytics Engineer at Drumline, Senior Digital Product Analyst at Vail Resorts, SEO Coordinator at Vert, and Senior Manager of Analytics and Insights at HS Ad North America. So lots of people hiring for lots of good analytics positions. Go check them out. For promotional stuff, of course, the private social media study, it's called Members Only, was a lot of fun to write. It's even more fun to hear your reactions to it, so go check that out. Stuff that you wrote in the news this week. We have 6 ways big data improves your social media marketing by Agility, which I thought was a nice little piece. What is marketing content management? Ways technology is changing the PR industry, a lot of ways. Data mining to aid off-page SEO support. The new Your Money, Your Life guidelines, and what this means for marketers. Some changes in search there. We also have, what else we got here? How agencies are using AI to innovate for clients, which is fun, and leveling up your first-party data strategy. Upcoming events this week, I am headed out to Cleveland, driving on out for Content Marketing World. So if you're going to be at Content Marketing World, stop by, say hi. I'll be wearing the scary mask, so just look for the guy wearing the military-grade gas mask, and that's probably me. Then we got Marketing Props B2B Forum in October and HeapCon in November. So that's the news for this week. As always, if you've got comments or questions, just hit reply on wherever it is you're watching or listening to this. We can have a conversation about it. Stop by the Slack group. Lots of fun stuff. I'm going to be sharing the network map data from Inbound 22 in the Slack group. So if you want a copy of that to mess around with it, stop on by. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.